Hello, everyone. This is Mark, joined as always with
Julie, and this is our companion show to GenreTalk called GenreTalk. On GenreTalk, we interview writers, game designers, directors, producers, and actors. But with GenreTalk, we are talking genre. We review different movies and TV shows.
Now, how often we do the show is partly up to you. So if you like this, let us know by subscribing or leaving comments. Like it, follow us. Or if you want to be a super fan, you can join our Patreon over at patreon.com/Cabot Crossing. For those of you who don't listen to us on YouTube, you might not know that Cabot Crossing is our publishing company where we publish novels, anthologies. And we're now also producing genretainment, genre play, and more as part of Cabot Crossing.
Now, today we are talking about Superman. As of the time of this recording, we watched the movie just a couple of days ago, and we have lots of things to say about this movie.
Yeah, first we're going to try to be spoiler-free in our review. Then we're going to get down those spoilers. At the end, we'll give our ratings. So if you don't want to be spoiled, we will cue you when to skip to the end, and we'll try to put times in the show notes to help you out.
Now, first, here's the official synopsis. Superman must reconcile his alien Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as reporter Clark Kent. As the embodiment of truth, justice, and the human way, he soon finds himself in a world that views these as old-fashioned. James Gunn directed and co-wrote this movie. It's the first film in James Gunn and Peter Safran's DC Universe reboot. It stars David Corenswet as Superman, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, and a long list of talented actors and actresses that we'll cover more later in the episode.
Now, it's still early days in the box office, and there's a lot of pressure on this movie, both from a business perspective, since it has to launch a new DC movie franchise that I'm sure they hope will match or rival the success of Marvel Cinematic Universe, but also from Zack Snyder fans who are maybe a little defensive about there being a new Superman in movie theaters.
Oh,
Heck, maybe also just from a more cynical country that might think the idea of Superman's outdated. But how is this movie faring so far? And keep in mind, this is Monday, July 14th, so it's only been out for a few days. So looking at the box office domestically, the movie pulled in $122 million and $94 million international, giving it $217 million worldwide so far. Now, I've seen a few experts talk about how it's struggling in certain countries because Superman is tied very strongly to America, and that brand's a little less popular in certain countries right now.
Yeah, I wonder why.
But I'll let others speculate on that part of it. But those numbers do mean that it's the best opening take for DC since 2022's The Batman. Very important to put the part there.
Yeah.
And also beat out Man of Steel's domestic opening of $116.6 million. It also means its opening outgrossed the lifetime domestic grosses of 6 recent DC movies: Blue Beetle, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, Wonder Woman 1984, The Suicide Squad, and Birds of Prey. None of which crossed 100 million in the domestic run. And we're talking about domestic run. So that's a pretty strong start, but will it last? We've seen some other super movies start strong lately and drift off. That drift off, I would say, is seemingly connected to word of mouth. So what kind of reception is it getting? And it's kind of hard to always tell, but Rotten Tomatoes is about as good as anywhere else to look. And So as of today, July 14th, we see an overall 83% with critics and 93% with audiences.
I think that's good.
Yeah, I think that seems pretty good, pretty fair. And I suspect those numbers will either hover around that or perhaps maybe even increase a little bit over time rather than many big drops. And typically I feel that critic reviews matter most at those early days when people are deciding if they want to check it out or not, spend the money. And it's those audience numbers that kind of show us the legs on the movie sales. But we'll see. Just to give some comparison here, not that I want to make it a DC versus Marvel thing or whatever. I love MCU and I'm not trying to pick sides or anything. We all can get along. But just to give comparison,
Hollywood's big enough for both DC and Marvel.
Yes. Captain America: Brave New World, which seemed to start okay, but dropped off big time after the opening weekend, had a 40% of critics and 77% of audiences. And it had a domestic open of 88 million. And these Rotten Tomato numbers actually look a little closer to Thunderbolts, which had about a domestic open of 74 million. So I think it's safe to say so far it's beaten out this year's MCU movies. It'll be interesting to see how Fantastic Four compares and how Superman trends in the box office. But enough about box office numbers. Tomatoes, Rotten or Fresh, and Raging Monkeys Online. What did we think? What did you think, Julie?
Well, I liked it. I thought it was a good film. I thought that the writing and acting and the music, everything was all very good. I thought they had an excellent use of supporting characters. Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, Hawk Girl, and Lois Lane. I wish there had been a little bit more Hawk Girl because I always liked her in the animated shows. And I was excited to see her in the film, and she just didn't get a lot of airtime. But it's hard in a film with that many characters, and you got to focus on the main guy.
Yeah, it is called Superman.
Yeah. So I'm not going to fault it for that. David Cornsweet was a wonderful Superman and Clark Kent. I think that sometimes is a hard balance to get. You get one actor who's really good at playing Superman, but they don't really embody Clark Kent very well. And I thought he did a good job of making Clark Kent a part of Superman. I also liked all that they had Lois Lane do. She didn't just sit around as some sort of damsel in distress.
No.
She was active and she was, had agency. And I'd say more, but that would be spoilers.
Yeah, we'll save that for later.
That's it. That's all I got for spoiler free.
Alrighty. So I thought this movie was absolutely super. And I didn't hate the Man of Steel Superman. I'm a fan of Henry Cavill, but this is the kind of Superman I love to see on the big screen. And I just like a more hopeful Superman. This is my favorite Superman movie since at least the first two Christopher Reeves movies, I think. Because honestly, after that, they weren't bad, they weren't great, they were okay. And I do think it acts as a really great introduction to the new DC universe. Cast was amazing. I will also say another Superman that's recent in TV that I like is Tyler from Superman and Lois on CW. I thought he really embodied the general vibe of Superman.
Oh, yeah. He did an excellent job.
But I think this guy knocked it out of the park for sure. And I thought the cast was amazing. Crypto was adorable and the perfect addition.
I loved Crypto. I love. He's not a very good dog.
This might be one of my favorite Lex Luthors ever, but I might let some time pass before I make that bold statement. There's some really good Lex Luthor.
I thought Lex Luthor was very good in this film. I thought they did a good job of showing him as, this evil mastermind who sees himself as a hero.
Yeah, I think they did a good job with that. And I will say that I love the return to hope and the type of hero that might seem to be to the world as maybe naive, but I think we need something to strive for, and this is the hero to strive to be. Sometimes
I think when we were growing up, we had more heroic heroes to look up to, and I think that was a good thing.
Yeah, I do agree. I believe, at least in America, I can't speak for the rest of the world, but in America, I feel after 9/11, people got a little cynical about that kind of thing. And we're in a world where, I love Punisher, but we're in a world where I think some people idolize Punisher more than Superman, and that's kind of worrisome a little bit.
It's a little disturbing.
Yeah.
I like Punisher in the shows, but he's not someone to look up to.
Not someone to strive to be. He's someone to become if someone murders your entire family and no one will do anything about it. Then you do that. He's not the kind of person you want to strive to become in general in society.
He's not a great American hero.
No. Superman definitely is that. And I feel like they brought that back. We get plenty of what if Superman was whatever with that movie Brightburn, which James Gunn was involved in also, or with Homelander and lots of other characters that popped up. Omni-Man from Invincible.
Man, Homelander on The Boys is terrifying.
Yeah. So Invincible's dad gives us that. Homelander's terrifying. We get enough versions of that. We don't need, not to say that Man of Steel, Henry Cavill Superman was that extreme, but he was a little dark.
I didn't care for the Zack Snyder Superman.
No, he was a little unrelatable and maybe a little overpowered too, at least in the Justice League movie. But that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, I thought this Superman seemed very human. It seemed relatable. He wasn't perfect, and he wasn't always, maybe he was a little naive about his faith in people sometimes, or society, but he is something I think to strive to become. And I think that's important to have kids have something like that to look at.
I think it's important for adults to have something like that too.
And adults, yes.
There are some adults that need a little bit of his naivete and human belief. We need a little bit more of that right now.
I think we do. We got a lot of nihilistic views sometimes popping in, and we don't want to. You don't want to do that. You don't want to live your life that way. That's no good. So anyway, great visual effects, great action, lots of stand-up moments. I
Yeah,
think,
we saw it in 3D, which was fantastic.
yes. The only gripe I could see someone having is maybe it's too much like a comic book.
That's what it came from, is a comic book. If you don't want to watch a comic book movie, don't go watch a comic book
I
movie.
know. I'm trying to find something there, but I personally love that about it. And I think, from a executive point of view, I'd be like, oh, this is a little much. Or I would have thought that before now, because I think the MCU has been around for a very long time. They've really developed their universe, and it's gotten really strange, to be honest, as they do in comic books. And I think that's helped people kind of, be able to go there creatively and not feel it's cartoony or anything. And I think it's the time where this kind of movie would work in that way. Plus, there's a lot of these characters are very iconic from the cartoons and other stuff. A lot of people have heard of them before. So I think mass audiences are going to be a lot more open to this being thrown in the middle of this active DC universe. And trying to do like new origin stories, especially so soon after the Snyder's take of the DC universe, probably would have been a huge risk. It would have felt like retreading over ground we just saw.
It would have felt redundant.
It would have. And I don't think you need to do it with Superman. Superman, Batman, at least those two, everybody knows their origin story, at least has a pretty good idea of it.
Yeah.
So
if you're alive nowadays, you probably were born after Superman became a pop culture icon.
So James Gunn team should be proud of what they did here. I was skeptical of some of the bold choices they made when I heard about them leading up to the film, but I kept saying to myself, it's James Gunn. If anyone can pull it off, he can, because I love Gunn.
And he did.
And he did. And that is the end of my spoiler-free review. Now we can get all spoilery. So what else do you want to say, Julie?
I thought Nathan Fillion did a great job as Guy Gardner. Mm-hmm. And he had some really great lines, like when he said, "Hey kid, good news, Superman couldn't make it, so you got an upgrade," because they showed up. And when he was knocking over tanks and there was a giant hand with a middle finger sticking up, knocking over tanks. And I think Nathan Fillion kind of stole most of the scenes that he was in.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't in it a whole lot, but he did a great job. I think it was a really good, I think her name was Rachel Brosnahan, did Lois Lane. And I'm always very picky about my Lois Lanes, because I feel like she should be a strong, capable, resourceful woman, because she's such a good reporter. And I don't like when they just turn her into a damsel for him to save all the time. In this case, she actually went to rescue him.
Yeah.
And so I liked that a lot.
Yeah, they had really good chemistry together, those two.
Yeah, they did. And when they bickered and fought, I even turned to you and said, yep, they sound like a couple.
And I also liked Guy Gardner. I thought Nathan Fillion could do Guy Gardner. I think some people really hoped he would become Hal Jordan because he voiced him at some point in the animation.
Yes.
But he's getting a little older and stuff. And I think his sense of humor and comedic timing works perfect for Gardner.
Yeah. Actually, that Nathan Fillion being Guy Gardner may actually get my mom to watch this movie.
There you go.
Because she loves Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, so along the line of Justice Gain, that's not their name, whatever the name is. But it was really a great addition to it. Like we said about Guy Gardner. We know Maxwell Lord.
It's terrific.
Yeah, we know Maxwell Lord is kind of behind it and stuff. So that ties into some Justice League International storylines. So I'm really curious to see where they go with that. But we also got Hawk Girl, who did a really good job. That actress is like everywhere right now. And
yeah, she's in The Last of Us.
Yeah, Last of Us. And she was Dora the Explorer. And a surprise standout to me was Mr. Terrific. So
yes,
he had one of the best fight scenes, I would say.
That was a fantastic fight scene between him and the T-Spheres.
Yeah. All those people he took out.
I know. Lois Lane couldn't believe it either.
We finally got a comic book accurate Mr. Terrific, because there was a Mr. Terrific in Arrow who he was a fun character and stuff. I liked the actor and the character and everything, but he wasn't really Mr. Terrific. And I don't know if we've seen him elsewhere or not. I can't remember if Stargirl touched on that or not in live action. I mean, but this was a really good comic book accurate Mr. Terrific. I would watch a Mr. Terrific movie, or I would watch tons of Justice Gain, or whatever you want to call it, Justice League, Justice Gain, Justice Society, whatever they call it.
I like the Justice Gang. I'm with Guy Gardner on this.
Well, I would watch that all day long, because that the dynamic is quite interesting.
Makes them sound like a bunch of cowboys.
That's Posse, Justice Posse. No.
Yeah, the Justice Posse. That's what it should be.
But yeah, and Crypto was great. I like it that Crypto wasn't a well-obeyed dog either. I thought that was
no. And he's like, he's not a very good dog.
That was fun.
A foster situation.
I like the engineer as a villain. So one thing I would have liked to have seen is a little bit more about the engineer. I'm trying to look up the characters. I can't remember, because that's a character I don't know very well from the comics. And they kind of hinted that, I did this. This is why I did this to my body and stuff. And I just kind of wonder.
Maria Gabriela de Faria.
Yes. So, and she's originally, I know she's from the Wildstorm universe originally. That was the Jim Lee comic book that eventually would merge with the DC universe. They got bought or merged with them. And she was part of, I think, the Authority superhero group. And yeah, she was liquid machinery, can morph in different weapons. So yeah, she was pretty close.
Oh, I want to give a shout out to Wendell Pierce's Perry White too. That's a character I always like. Perry White depictions, how they decide to do them, and I thought he did a great job. He's a good actor.
Yeah. What did they call the group with Engineer and Ultraman? What was it called? But yeah, I would like to see a little bit more of her just to see what her motivation was, because I feel like there's a hint there of something interesting, but they never really followed up with it.
Yeah, I mean, she was under the thumb of Lex Luthor, but we don't know why.
Oh, it was Planet Watch, which is funny because from Wildstorm, their headline title team group was Stormwatch originally, which then became the Authority. So interesting. I wonder if they were thinking about using any other characters from that universe. But that's one thing I would say. I would like to see just a little more engineer. I think this movie was flowing fast enough that they could probably squeezed in just one more little thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you said about Jimmy was great. He's got high rizz, that's for sure. That's what the kids would say, right?
Oh, you're talking about Jimmy Olsen now?
Yeah, Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, he did a good job. You had to feel sorry for him at the end when he ended up with Eve.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think at that point he was thinking like, well, maybe, everybody thinks she's kind of hot and stuff. And she was pretty smart. What she did, I don't know.
She was pretty. So she's got that going.
She's just very needy, very cleany.
Yes.
But that
she's a hot mess.
But that was clever of her. I liked how they framed the story. I thought at first I was like, this is a weird way to start the movie. But then once it was over, I realized, oh, now that makes sense. Because he starts off injured and the robots bring him in and they play the recording of his Kryptonian parents talking. And they go, this soothes him. The recording of his parents. Da-da-da. And then at the end of everything, once he finds out the message was not so great at the end of that, and his parents maybe weren't the kind of people he thought they were, they say this similar thing and they play his adopted parents, Mom, Pa, Kent stuff. So I thought that was
and they show pictures and videos of him growing up with his adoptive parents.
Yeah. So I thought that was very, very touching, very nice touch to the Superman story there.
I thought they did a good job with Ma and Pa Kent too.
They did. They made him very legit, older, farmers and Kansas kind of look, kind of vibe. So, and I read somewhere that James Gunn,
from the middle of the country, I felt like they were actually depicting people from the middle of the country.
Yeah. They remind me of my grandparents a little bit. So
they did remind me of your grandparents.
Yeah. They definitely seemed a lot like my grandparents. So I think they nailed that pretty well. And I remember James Gunn said and I can't remember who he contacted, one of his acting friends or whoever, whose parents are from who are Missouri, I believe, and had them listen to see if they can try to get their accent kind of close. So I appreciate that. So they were trying, because you could accidentally make that very cartoonish and kind of patronize.
And many have.
Yeah. And so I think he was aware of that and was trying very carefully not to be patronizing or making fun of anybody with those accents.
And I like that his dad was a big softie.
Yeah. His parents are great. But yeah, there's just lots of great characters here. I was worried it'd be too many, but James Gunn's pretty good about juggling a large cast. And I think he juggled it pretty well here. And we got, we get a really quick introduction to Supergirl, which we know that's one of the next movies coming out, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which is based on the limited series. I think it's 8 parts.
Can I just say I'll be disappointed if Crypto isn't in it at all?
Well, I read that storyline. I think I did. At least I read a good chunk of it. And I can't remember if crypto is or not, but I did find, I could have swore oh no, I didn't write it down. I saw a description of it and it did mention crypto. So,
good.
so we'll see.
That was funny at the end when she shows up and the dog jumps on her and is just destroying everything. And Superman is like, this is why he has behavioral issues.
Yeah, it explains a lot. So that'd be great. Crypto will be everywhere after a while. So we'll see how this movie does. I do know, I read somewhere it's like the 55th best opening of all time domestically, I believe. And only 6 films have ever opened 110 million and failed to reach 300 million. So that's a good sign. So hopefully it will soar and we'll see a new DC universe come forth. And I hope they don't throw away everything from the ODC. I hope.
Yeah, the original Wonder Woman was a fantastic movie.
It was
1984 was an atrocity.
Yeah, that was not so great. But yeah, the original Wonder Woman was really, really good.
The original Wonder Woman was a fantastic film.
And I liked the Suicide Squad. And I think from what we can tell from Creature Commandos, which is an animated series
I like that too.
In case you didn't know, go check it out on HBO Max. If you like Suicide Squad, it's got a similar vibe. And they referenced the Suicide Squad element. So I think at least most of that stuff happened. It's probably what I hope they do or consider doing is like a soft reboot kind of thing on them, retcon or whatever. Kind of like what they did with the Hulk for MCU, because I like to see some of those characters in the Suicide Squad continue. We watched Blue Beetle recently. I liked Blue Beetle, and
yeah, I liked it. It was good.
And it could still have Ted Kord Blue Beetle appear also. And, I'm not against anything about Shazam. First Shazam at least was pretty good. And Wonder Woman, the first one was amazing. It would be a shame to lose that. But we'll see what happens. I'm sure James Gunn has thought about all that stuff and the rest of the team. So, but what we have coming up next from them, for sure, is Supergirl and Clayface, which is odd. Well, Gunn has said, and this is a different approach, it's very different from MCU, is that they're not going to greenlight anything until it's got a good script. And so what I feel like MCU does more and more, well, maybe not now, I think they're starting to retool some of that stuff, especially with the TV. But they used to be just like, let's map out. We want to do this. We want to do that. Sure. And then they just, like, executives or higher up people would decide, and then they would find the creative team to write the script and everything. They'd have no idea what they're actually going to be about. And Gunn's trying to approach it from a different perspective of like, we go work on the scripts and we see what works, and then we greenlight it and work forward.
I like putting the writing first because you know what they say? They say if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. I mean, if you don't have a good script, you don't have a good movie.
I know. And I think it's a good idea. I think there's going to have to be some pressure on certain things. Like, I want to see Superman 2, so I would definitely be pushing for that soon. And I would love to see Justice Gang or Justice League or whatever they're going to do with that group soon also. So I think those two are really good. And I would also not do what MCU has been doing lately, is where they've spread themselves out so much that, they wait so long to follow up. Like Shang-Chi, huge movie.
Whatever happened to part 2 for that?
I mean, it's still in the works, but it's been so long. You lose a lot of that momentum. And I hope.
Yeah, because I don't really remember it. I remember I really liked it.
I know.
But I don't really remember the film.
I know. And that's the MCU's maybe stretching themselves out too much. I think they know that now, and I think they're course correcting, especially with their TV stuff. So anyway, I hope they at least prioritize getting a Superman 2 and a Justice Gang or Justice League, start working on that, or a Mr. Terrific movie, whatever. But
yeah, because I was going to say, I'd be excited about a Justice Gang or Justice League because how well he did Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
I could see him really doing an ensemble cast like that really well.
Yeah, the only reason why I don't say Justice League per se is because that group, or most of them, and their vibe is very much like the JLI, Justice League International, and how they developed that. And they got very comedic and goofy and stuff, and with Maxwell Lord and everything. And I feel like that's something that Gunn would want to do. And I don't know how that would go over if it was the Justice League with audiences. So it might be better to call them something besides Justice League. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. Either way, want to see those characters more. But I'm curious about Clayface, Supergirl. Wasn't really that curious about Supergirl until that tease and stuff, and especially that crypto. And then there's also a Lanterns HBO Max series in the works. So that's, well, more Green Lantern stuff.
Oh, really?
The actress who plays Hawkgirl, she said she would really like to see a romance storyline between Hawkgirl and John from Green Lanterns. John Stewart?
Yeah, Jon Stewart.
Yeah. And because that was like in Justice League Unlimited and stuff, it was really good. So,
Yeah. I like Justice League Unlimited.
yes, one of the best animated DC shows ever.
Yeah. And I loved Hawkgirl in that. That's why I was excited to see her in this movie.
All right. So, anything else you want to say about it before we wrap up?
I think the guy who played Lex Luthor did a fantastic job.
Yeah, he did a great job.
I think the actor did a good job, and I like how they wrote him where he is such a threat to Superman because he's such a genius and has so much wealth and power that, Superman can't just go and punch his way out of a situation with Lex Luthor.
Yeah. I thought they did a really good job of this interpretation of him. I think he's a good blend of science genius with kind of psychopath, tendency.
Yeah, because he thinks he's a hero.
Yeah, but he's not.
Not.
I mean, what he did in that scene with the interrogation and then killing that one guy.
I know. That was evil.
That was one of the darkest scenes we've seen Lex do in live action. So, and there's been a lot of good Lex Luthors. Voice acting wise,
they also were trying to get him to close the rift at the end because it was going to kill a bunch of people. And he said, well, they chose Superman, let him die.
Yeah. So he's pretty extreme. And I felt like there was a lot of emotion going on his face when he lost, and he knew he lost, and everybody turned on him.
Yeah.
Like he had made
brilliant.
What he had done to Superman got all flopped on him, and he knew there's nothing he could do about it in that moment. Such anger and surprise and sadness and frustration and anger, shock and everything, and embarrassment because of what Krypto did, which
that was hilarious. Krypto, drop him.
Yeah, because I feel like he was still defiant until Krypto did that, and it made him realize how weak he was to them.
And a dog took him out.
Yeah, and that would only anger you more, right? So I don't think we've seen the last of Lex Luthor for sure. So this is a character.
I doubt it.
My gosh, one guy put him in a military Jeep and drove off. I was like, I would watch him. Make sure he gets into the prison.
Yeah, they were sending him to Belle Reve, right?
Yeah, I would make sure he makes it there. I don't feel like you should. I feel like he could have a backup plan.
Yeah, but he'd be the type to, once he gets to Belle Reve, to end up running the place.
Yeah, he's going to be coming back at some point. So yeah, great Lex Luthor. Lots of great characters. Lots of good stuff to work with in this universe moving forward. So I think they said Warner's Brothers said it's like a 10-year plan. So we'll see. But you never know how it's going to go in the box office. Could end up flopping or something. I don't think it will, but we'll see. So anyway, are you ready to rate the show?
I guess so.
How many Kryptos or perhaps T-spheres would you give it out of a possible max of 10?
I'm thinking a 9. I kind of want to give it a 10, but I feel like I should probably leave that for some leeway.
I'm going to give it 9.5.
Go.
I think I'm going to give it 9.5. It's a movie that I watched and was like, I could watch it again right now,
Yeah, I could go back and watch it again. Let's do that.
And that's a good sign. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one when it came out, I watched it, or I can't remember if we were together each time or not, but I watched it 3 times in theaters, and I don't do that often. I rarely watch a movie more than once in theaters.
I think you went and watched it with different people at different times.
I think so, and I would do that again with Superman. We probably will watch it at least one more time, and we'll probably watch it when it gets on HBO Max. And I haven't done that for DC Universe. I haven't I watch every MCU movie, right? And I used to watch every DC movie, but like where'd that list go? Like we just now watched Blue Beetle, partly because we were inspired to we wanted to watch more DC stuff after watching that. But I haven't seen.
And it had the lead guy was from Cobra Kai, and
yes, that was another reason. Yeah, we love Cobra Kai, so once we realized he was in it, we had to watch it. But Shazam! Fury of the Gods, haven't seen it yet, and I will, but I'm not in a big hurry.
That's right. We haven't seen that one.
Yeah. So, MCU, I will always watch them, even though sometimes we're going to talk about Ironheart pretty soon here in a different episode. So we'll talk more about the MCU at that point. But DC is kind of disappointed me sometimes. Sometimes the movies are pretty lackluster.
Yeah. I really couldn't stand the Snyder verse in DC.
No, in general, I didn't like that. He wasn't a very relatable Superman.
He was a
Anyway,
terrible Superman. Snyder is good for some things.
you're gonna get the rage monkeys on us.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Zack Snyder's good for some things. When he does the Zack Snyder thing on a Zack Snyder film, it can be good. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's a poor fit for DC.
Yeah. Maybe not for Batman per se, but for all the other DC for sure. Or if
I think he's too
Deathstroke
for Batman, to be honest.
I think unless you do an alternate Batman, he is. Deathstroke, I can see him doing that. A few other characters I could see him doing. But yeah, he's got his own unique style, and he can't really shift from that too easily. But it works well for certain things. For his own stuff, or like Watchmen, 300, great.
300 was fantastic.
Yeah. So he's a very talented guy, so I'm not trying to knock him down or anything. But
he was not a good fit for Superman.
No, I don't think so. I mean, he tried something different, great, but he wasn't. I wouldn't want to live in a world with that Superman, to be honest with you. That's the one I would worry about going psycho at some point. I think that's what he was eventually going to do at some point, was he was going to have him go evil, at least for a little bit or something.
We've already got a Homelander. We don't need Superman.
We're already past that. We've got plenty of that now. We don't need to see that again. And you kind of get it with the change with the Kryptonians, with the message. That's kind of like Invincible in a way, right? Like his dad was sent off there to take over the planet and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if they ever did that in any of the comic books. A lot of DC stuff's been rebooted over and over again. So there's different interpretations of Jor-El and his mom. And there's been interpretations where they aren't as nice. I don't know if they've ever gone that far, though, with what that message was. I can't remember if they have or not.
Yeah. Saying to rule over the planet and take many wives.
Yeah, that was extreme. So, but I think it was well done, and it was good for him to realize that he's more human than he is Kryptonian, apparently. Which it will be interesting to explore that with Supergirl, because if they do Supergirl like Supergirl normally is, she didn't leave Krypton until she was like a teenager or something, and she was supposed to basically be the bodyguard for Kal to help protect him. But something happens time-wise, and when she gets there, he's already Superman. So, yeah. And a lot of times they've played with Supergirl being kind of mad about how that all worked out, but not because Krypton wanted to take over the Earth or something. So it'll be interesting if she knew that or not, because she's also a kid, so maybe she didn't. Maybe she's glorified in her mind what Krypton's like, or thought something different. But it'll be interesting to see if they explore that or not in her movie. It would also explain why she's so kind of messed up.
Yeah, she's a hot mess, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a bit of a hot mess. And that storyline in Supergirl is very well regarded. It's very different. So it'll be interesting to see how they adapt that. So
yeah.
In the DC universe, their space stuff, their aliens. If you think the aliens in Guardians of the Galaxy were weird, it's nothing compared to DC Universe. DC Universe has really weird aliens. So we'll see what happens. All right. Well, we rated it. We did our spoiler-free review, and in our spoiler review, I think we are about done. This is a little bit longer episode, but I think it's worth it for Superman.
I think so. Well, thanks so much to everyone for listening. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and tell us your favorite parts of the movie or which you thought might have been missing. And also what other movies, TV shows, or other things you'd like us to talk about. Just let us know that in the comments.
And don't forget, if you found us with this episode, you can also hear us interview creators on GenreTalk, or listen or watch us play different tabletop role-playing games and discuss them to you over on Genre Play It on the YouTube channel. You can find us over at cabotcrossing.com. That's Cabot, like a rabbit, except
Cabbit.
Exactly. And
Cat and rabbit combined.
And our YouTube channel is at Cabot Crossing. We'll put some links in the show notes too. And I think that's a wrap for today's episode. So until next time.
Bad monkey.